Welcome back to GMG Movie Recaps. Today, we dive into the captivating world of the 2011 biographical action thriller film called Colombiana, Colombia, Bogotá. Don Luis, a drug lord and his boss, is being spoken to by a man by the name of Fabio. Fabio informs him that he will be leaving the cartel, and will be delegating all bookkeeping duties to a fellow employee. They raise a glass in honor of Fabio's life. As Don Luis grinned and said he would miss him, Don Luis signals to Marco, his right-hand man. As Fabio departs, Fabio is not a dummy, though. He is aware that his employer will take action against anyone who wants to quit the life of drug smuggling, including him. Fabio rushes home with 3 of his devoted guards, because they just have an hour to depart the country. After arriving at the house, Fabio informs his wife Alicia that it's time. Cataleya, his young daughter, claims to be prepared when he orders her to pack. Fabio advises her to go to the American embassy and give them a microchip in case something occurs. It contains all the details regarding Don Luis's criminal activity. He also provides her with his brother's address, the Cataleya flower necklace that Fabio later presents to his daughter, because his mother usually grew them. She was given that name. Marco and many cartel members arrive shortly after, and massacre Fabio's men. Fabio and Alicia attempt to repel the attackers by grabbing guns, but they are slain off-screen. Cataleya observes the gunfire. While sitting at the table in disbelief, she swallows the microchip rapidly. Marco approaches Cataleya with the men. Marco poses as a pleasant person, and claims to have known her father. But Fabio stole the microchip from Don Luis. Cataleya approaches him closely, before grabbing a knife from underneath the table, and stabbing him in the hand. Cataleya climbs up onto a ledge and scoops through a window. Her parents reportedly trained her survival tactics, in case something similar occurred. While Marco's cartel thugs pursue her, she flees. Cataleya manages to evade the parkour performers, motorbike riders and guys in automobiles by slipping into the sewers. She enters the US Embassy through a manhole cover, and is directed to a representative, who inquires about her father. He's dead, according to Cataleya. When the stranger inquires about whether her father has anything, Cataleya quickly compels her to vomit, and hands him the microchip. It contains all of Don Luis' activity logs. The agent asks if she realizes what she has. After giving her a startled expression, Cataleya says, "My passport." They get her out of the country, and papers in exchange for the chip. She is being escorted to Miami by an American CIA agent. Cataleya requests to use the loo, and then jumps out the window. Her father advised her to travel to Chicago, so she purchases a bus ticket there. She asks for Emilio, and makes her way to a sketchy neighborhood. She has an uncle named Emilio, who is also Fabio's brother. Emilio is overtaken with emotion, and hugs her upon seeing her. Finally able to let go, Cataleya sobs while being held by her uncle. The following morning, Emilio drives her to a private preparatory school, where he pays the headmaster to admit her. In the middle of the academic year, Cataleya is furious as they depart, because she feels her education at school is useless. She needs to develop her assassin skills. An automobile crashes after Emilio unexpectedly takes out a handgun and fires at the driver. He claims that he could teach her how to kill people for free, and that she would be dead in 5 years. She must attend school, if she intends to achieve this and be intelligent. She must be aware of how people think. Cataleya pays him attention. Current day, a drunk motorist rear-ends 2 police officers, who are in their car talking about their spouses. A woman enters, babbles incoherently. We can see a floral necklace on the woman. When they rapidly take her into custody, Cataleya has reached adulthood. She is taken to the police station by them. She is there arrested for DUI, and kept overnight in a cell. She falls asleep. That evening, US Marshals arrived with a prisoner. He is brought to his cell. The Cataleya awakens. Her DUI was nothing more than a pretext to enter the police station. The goal is the detainee. She changes into a form-fitting black outfit. Before picking the lock, she takes out a spoon from her cell, that was in a cup of coffee. In order to avoid being observed, she turns the cameras away, grabs some water from the cooler, and moves to the electrical room. She enters the air ducts. After setting up the cup and spoon to spark, the electricity shorts out. After a brief period of water leaking from the cup, just before the power is reset, Cataleya manages to escape past a fan that has stopped. She enters the male lavatory. When the prisoner's guardian realizes he is without coffee, he adjourns from the room. He enters the lavatory and Cataleya knocks him out. In order to get the door to open again, she drags his body in front of the camera. She knocks the prisoner awake after opening the cell. She commands him to take off his shirt. When he asks why, she shoots him multiple times. The guard was holding the gun when the marshals entered the cell. After hearing the gunshots, to give herself time to flee, Cataleya falsely accused him of the murder. Cataleya climbs to the roof in an attempt to avoid the marshals, as they continue to search the entire structure. When everything is safe, she returns through the air ducts, goes to her cell, locks the door, and gets dressed again. When the marshals come upon her, She is once more laying down and pretending to sleep. The marshals are unaware of what occurred. The following day, Cataleya is released after being fingerprinted. She walks out of the prison and tugs at her hand. She had impersonated someone else's prints on artificial latex skin that she was wearing. After returning home, Cataleya dances to some music. She takes a shower and spends a lot of time washing herself. Cataleya goes to Danny's flat, a painter who doubles as her boyfriend. Little is known about her, and Danny merely refers to her as Jennifer. After having sex with Danny, Cataleya leaves the following morning without saying goodbye. She obviously doesn't want to reveal her true self to him. When FBI Special Agent Ross visits the jail, he discovers that the victim is the most recent in a spate of 22 killings. They have been investigating for the past 4 years. They refer to the perpetrator as the tag killer, because of the markings he or she leaves on the victim's breast. It is clear that it is a Cataleya flower. Richard, a CIA agent, travels to New Orleans to a villa that is well watched. Don Luis lives there and was not punished for his crimes. When Richard shows him the hit from the jail, Luis protests that he had no part in it. In exchange for information, Richard received witness protection and was allowed to continue operating his cocaine smuggling enterprise, according to Richard. But Richard claims that Luis is aware of what is wrong, and that Richard is aware of it as well. Luis instructs Marco to handle the problem. After Richard has left, Luis has a strong suspicion that Cataleya is responsible for the murders. He must now complete it, because he failed to murder Cataleya the first time. In the meantime, Cataleya visits Emilio. He hands her the paper that has her business card. He calls the behavior dumb and is furious. Emilio claims he vowed to defend her to his brother. He never intended for her to choose this path. He constantly steals employment from people in order to keep her safe. Definitely, Cataleya claims that she chose this road on her own, and that she won't let up until Luis is dead. After sighing, Emilio gives her the next task. The Ponzi scam was started by a hedge fund manager, who then stole billions and left the country. People desire his death. Ross is reviewing surveillance footage at the FBI office. He cannot believe a woman would be this kind of killer, despite some of his agents believing the killer is Cataleya, who is seen on the recording. Cataleya visits her workplace, where she finds 2 sizable dogs, who chance to pay attention to her. They are fed steaks by her. Emilio's pal Pepe is present inside. He manages her vehicles and weapons. Cataleya opens a safe and takes out one of her phony passports. In the mansion of the hedge manager, who lives in luxury surrounded by gorgeous women, and wouldn't stand a chance in hell if he didn't have billions, she finds a passport for Mexico. One woman complains that the sharks in the aquarium pool are ignoring her, but the man responds that all they would need is 1 drop of blood to become her best friends and devour her. The security is informed by the hedge fund manager that he needs more guys tonight. Sharks dodging her, Cataleya swims through the aquarium. Before pushing open a glass door to the mansion, she produces a silencer and pistol. When the hedge fund manager stands up, he discovers that Cataleya has written thief and a flower pattern on him. All of his guards are dead. He discovers as he strolls around his estate. He grabs 2 firearms and moves towards the pool area. After spotting a flower, Cataleya announces her presence while seated in a chair. His firearms are empty, so he tries to shoot her but fails. He receives a leg shot from Cataleya. The man begs her not to kill him, promising to pay twice as much as she was paid. He receives a shot to the chest from Cataleya. Falling into the pool, the blood pours, and in a matter of seconds, his sharks devour him. When Cataleya visits Danny's flat in the USA, he has already left to visit some art galleries. She snoozes on his bed while tightly clutching his shirt. It is obvious that she cares for him, but she is reluctant to express it. Ross is examining the tag killer calling card, when the mailman provides him with a crucial piece of information. It is the Cataleya flower, which is native to Colombia exclusively. Ross tries to connect it to active cases in Colombia, but is refused access because it is CIA controlled. Ross phones Richard and requests permission, but Richard sidesteps the question. Prior to Agent Ross beginning to make connections, he phones Luis and instructs him to take care of the issue. Marco is assigned by Luis to find Cataleya and question every Colombian until he finds her family. Cataleya purchases dinner before Danny gets home. He is joyful, and Cataleya gives him a kiss. Danny stops her and invites her to sit down, eat dinner, and have a conversation. Once more, Danny and Cataleya share a bed. It's currently midday. Danny quickly snaps a picture of Cataleya dozing. He brings her breakfast and tells her they may eat it. At noon, after waking her up, Cataleya loses her cool and declares that she must leave, because she accomplished too much. Danny is in a panic and is unsure of what he did wrong. Emilio and Cataleya get together after seeing the newspaper. He is furious. Cataleya is still using her business card. The fact that people are hunting for them indicates that 8 people were shot dead in a pub. One of them was Emilio's friend. Cataleya won't let up, but Emilio claims it's not just about her. She's endangering her remaining family as well. He killed a lot of people after his son passed away, but nothing changed, and he also endangered his family. She receives a photo of her parents from Emilio. As a memento of what might be lost, Cataleya sits there sobbing along with her grandmother and Emilio. Cataleya attends church. She appears prepared to abandon her search for retribution. In a coffee shop, Danny is telling a friend about his love Jennifer, and how he is falling for her despite knowing little about her. When the buddy views the image, he is astounded by how gorgeous she is. When Danny's car gets issued a ticket, his friend takes the phone with the photo, and phones his sister-in-law, a police officer. While Danny is preoccupied, he asks her to verify that Jennifer is real, so that Danny won't get injured. The individual is completely unaware of his actions. When Cataleya's picture is pinged to Ross' computer, he is already using it. As they follow the signal's path to the other police station, he has the technician detained. Ross finds a match between the image and the jail's security footage. The person he is looking for is Cataleya. Cataleya phones Danny after returning home, and tries to explain her feelings for him. She freaked out and asked whether anyone else had seen the photo. When Danny brought it up, Cataleya scans the area around her flat. As he makes mention of his acquaintance, she is being detained by SWAT. She activates the shower before scaling a duct to leave her residence. She enters one flat after running through numerous others. She knocks the tenant out. When he tries to cause a scene, in the man's toilet, where she had previously put a sniper rifle, she finds both a harness and it. While Ross and his operatives blow open the door to her flat, she places explosives on the wall. She lowers the pipes to the garage using the harness. Before SWAT can find her, she shoots out the cameras, and makes it into another air duct. She finds herself in the tube and leaves covertly. When Cataleya gets there, she discovers that Emilio's has been looted. Pepe lies lifeless on the ground. She collapses as she discovers her grandmother dead in the kitchen. She searches for Emilio and discovers him dead, bound to a chair. He had obviously been tormented. As she apologizes, Cataleya yells with a mix of wrath and despair. When Ross gets home, Cataleya is waiting for him with a gun. He should sit down, she gestures, in order to prevent him from doing anything amusing. She reveals that she has fitted his chair with a pressure-sensitive explosive. Don Luis was supposed to be called out by the Cataleya flower tag, but it took until now to grab his attention. He then took the final piece of her. Ross is warned by Cataleya to obtain the information about Don Luis from the CIA right away, or she will kill a member of the family every week, until he is as hollow as she was all those years ago. She assures him that the bomb will be turned off as soon as she leaves. Ross visits Richard and informs him of the circumstance. Richard won't divulge the information and call comes to Ross. Cataleya is the one who informs him that he would pass away unless Richard provides her the address. Since his windows are made of reinforced glass, Richard scoffs. Cataleya fires a round from her sniper rifle, shattering the window. He receives the address from Richard. Cataleya hangs up when Ross inquires about his family. Albeit she had no desire to hurt them in the first place, Cataleya visits Pepe's workshop. She takes a few weapons. She stares at the two dogs when she notices them. She takes the armored pickup, and heads over to Don Luis' house. Marco is telling the men to face Cataleya at Don Luis' home. You should not underestimate her. Luis hears a noise as rocket is heading in their direction. As the area blows up, Luis merely manages to dodge the blast. They try to remove him from the situation. After Marco pulls him up, to begin a convoy, 4 of the men got into a car. With her pickup, Cataleya smashes through and totals the vehicle. She exits the vehicle and shoots the men inside the vehicle. She slowly but surely dispatches all of Luis and Marco's soldiers in the decisive firefight. Luis is kept in a secure location by Marco, as he attempts to murder Cataleya. After a couple quick gunfights, Marco is left alone with one other man. After shooting the man, Cataleya turns to shoot Marco. As they engage in hand-to-hand combat, Cataleya's revolver is periodically used to disarm them. To try to choke him, Cataleya now uses a towel. After some time, Marco grabs the weapon and prepares to fire, but Cataleya pulls the slide off the weapon, ejects the clip, and stabs Marco in the neck to kill him. Luis exits the panic room and gets into one of his vans after knowing that all of his men are gone, but Cataleya doesn't know where he is. A garbage truck sends him into a dead end. His cell phone rings with a call from Marco. That's Cataleya. Luis assures her that because she has never had him, she will never kill him. When Luis turns around, he can see 2 dogs in Cataleya. They dismantle Don Luis, completing her vengeance. Ross and the FBI arrested Danny and took him into custody. Danny informs them that he lacks knowledge. Ross claims he still has things to answer, even if he is not in custody. Cataleya phones Danny. They have 40 seconds before they trace the call, so they have time to ask 3 questions. After she assures him that she is fine. When he asks what her real name is, she responds, Cataleya. Danny wonders if his pet bird would ever come back. Perhaps one day. Cataleya tells him she will be able to. They run back inside after an agent informs Ross that Danny is receiving a call from Cataleya. When Danny says I love you, Cataleya starts to cry. Ross asks him to give over the phone, but before he can get a response from Cataleya, she hangs up. Ross informs Danny he can leave. While he is still looking at the phone, Cataleya dons her sunglasses and boards a bus headed somewhere she doesn't know. The end. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel and like it to motivate me to bring you more stories like this.